It's that time again. Yep, October's here. And it's my excuse to review horror movies once again. This time I'm looking into a new movie, the direct-to-streaming 2023 sixth entry of the VHS franchise. This edition is placed in the mid-80s with mixed results. While I am not the biggest fan of the found footage genre, the VHS series has stuck around, so they can't be that bad. And since I try to review at least one new horror movie each October, VHS 85 felt like a good fit. Let's break it down. This is an anthology movie, but there is a wraparound story that concludes at the end of the movie. Since there is no main story to this movie, each segment will be covered with limited spoilers. Due to the format of the movie, acting and character notes will be listed alongside the plot review for the sake of clarity. No Wake. The first segment features a group of friends heading to a lake to have some fun. It takes its time with vacation footage before a killer starts going after these lake camping young adults. However, there is a twist afterward that ties into a different story in this movie. I'm not familiar with the director, but the camera work is reasonable. However, the acting is pretty rough. Not the best start for this movie, but the twist does make this segment better, and the flaws add a little realism to this short. God of Death. This segment is in Spanish, as it takes place in Mexico, and references an actual earthquake that happened in '85. The earthquake devastates a film studio, and dumps a group of people into the underground. Early on, this becomes more of a survival story than a horror story. However, this does lead them into an underground temple with strange paintings and carvings. From there, things get out of hand, and that really helps improve this segment, as surviving an earthquake isn't very scary. The director is the same as Bingo Hell, a movie I reviewed some time ago. I see similar flaws with pacing and camera work, but there are some good ideas, and it sticks the landing, and makes this a much better segment than it appears at first. Techno God. This is the worst segment of the movie. Not only is it very predictable, but the acting is terrible and the effects are headache-inducing. The idea is that a person is doing performance art about how God is dead because of technology. After that, she puts on some VR equipment, and anyone who has seen a horror movie can guess what happens next. I'm not familiar with the director, and the weaknesses of this short make me question her skills. While the acting is meant to be bad, it doesn't make this segment enjoyable. The predictable ending was probably meant to be a makes you think, right? type ending, but it comes off as filler needed to make runtime. Cliché, banal, and it hurts the overall quality of this movie. Ambrosia. This begins with a family get-together. However, after the fun of the family ends, we learn that the family has some very bizarre traditions. After that, we learn about some murders committed by one of the family members, and the deeds they did come back to haunt them. Of the director's two shorts, this has the better acting and a much more creepy tone overall. The segment is quick, but the murder video and aftermath make this a great segment and a much needed refresher from the previous short. Dream Kill. This might be the best segment of the entire movie. We begin with a phone call from a woman scared about an intruder in her house. Then we see the camera POV of the killer. However, we find out that a detective got this tape a few days before the killing happened. This begins an investigation that goes deeper when a second tape arrives, showing another kill before it happens. When a suspect is arrested, he reveals that he has dreams of the future and started seeing his dreams on videotapes, so he sent them to the police to help their investigation. With the arrival of the next tape, things get set up for the very bloody finale. The director has a strange lineup of films, but you can see his skill with tone and pacing. The second dream tape is annoying to watch, but the effort put into the crime scenes more than make up for the flaws of this short. This segment was a great way to lead into the finale of the movie. Total copy. The wraparound segment that we see parts of throughout the movie and functions as the finale. It follows a group of scientists studying a strange creature they found and called Rory. The story of the investigation is told as a documentary, with the mystery of the creature growing with each small piece between the shorts. The final part is the longest, and it has the most horror feeling of any of the segments. It's a good wrap-around story that works well along with the cut-off real-life 80s commercials mixed into the footage. The director has worked on several movies in the VHS franchise and seems to understand the found footage style very well. He also directed the newest Hellraiser, and like that movie, this has illogical characters, but in short format that isn't as annoying. Most importantly, he creates a feeling of horror even with a limited amount of time. One of the problems with making something that takes place in a specific era is that the world and behaviors must look right. However, when you do this for a found footage movie, you have the problem of either having a modern aspect ratio, clear audio, and great visual quality, or you degrade down to the actual technology of the time and have a small aspect ratio, mid at best audio, and lose visual fidelity, especially on a VHS camera. The directors chose to use modern equipment and give the movie a feel of retro by using digital techniques. This was the right choice because it makes the movie much easier to watch compared to old shot on VHS movies. None of the segments seemed to have any noticeable anachronisms, which helped add to the reality of the movie. Characters looked and spoke like people from the era. Some of the characters from the No Wake segment made me say, "They look like extras from a Polonia Brothers movie." The police in Dreamkill have the typical police mustache, and the clothing in all segments looks about right. On the other hand, I'm not sure if the technology in Total Copy is accurate, and the VR aspects of TKNOGD feels a little ahead of the technology of '85 and more like something out of the '90s. There are quite a few digital effects in this movie, not only the effects to make the video seem older than it is, but also the tape distortion and tracking issues as we cut between segments. Some parts have rough camera work during violent scenes, probably due to budget issues, as this only comes up in Dreamkill and Total Copy. These moments don't ruin the segments, but it can be irritating when trying to figure out what's going on. There are also a couple digital effects used for some of the more violent moments, most of which are utilizing guns. However, the practical effects of the corpses in Dreamkill, the bodily damage in No Wake, and the madness in God of Death all look great. While each director has their own style, it is obvious that they wanted to focus more on practical effects rather than digital effects to give this movie a more 80s feel. The audio isn't bad overall, but the tracking moments are a bit jarring and noisy. However, they are part of the format, so they are acceptable. There are a few jump scare horror stings in some of the shorts, which are very annoying and not shot well enough to earn the scare, especially in God of Death. One of the killer POV videos in Dreamkill also has terrible audio, alongside hard-to-follow visuals, makes it one of the weakest points in this movie. Otherwise, there are no problems with the audio, and the music that was there was fine. However, I think diegetic music would have made more sense considering the format of the anthology. Lastly, the end of the movie has an original song for the credits. It's an Alice Cooper sound-alike that really fits the 80s style of the movie. More than that, it describes the plots of the segments as part of the song, like a movie theme from the 20th century. It's a little kitsch, but it was an enjoyable way to end the anthology. This was a movie that I had my worries about before I decided to do this review. Many times when a modern filmmaker does something about the 80s, they tend to do it wrong. Whether they get the slang wrong, the clothing wrong, or massive amounts of technological anachronisms. However, the greatest sin of the 80s style modern movie is that they try to overemphasize the 80s with cringe dialogue along the lines of, "I gotta get home to watch Alf. Dude, Alf sucks. It's all about Miami Vice." VHS 85 doesn't fall into those traps, and if there are any anachronisms, they are not overt, and it does not affect the quality of the movie. It was a bit of a surprise that I was familiar with most of the directors, considering I've reviewed Bingo Hell and Hellraiser 2022, and I planned on reviewing The Black Phone, except I was busy dealing with a trash tier anime. It was a nice surprise to have an anthology that was mostly good, with only one segment that I hated. I was preparing myself to watch something horrible, but instead got a decent, creepy movie to darken up my Halloween. It is difficult to give an overall score for VHS 85 because of the uneven nature that most anthology movies have. However, even if this doesn't line up with my standard rubric, I enjoyed the majority of the movie. Thus, my final verdict is recommended. Most of the segments are well done, but it does lack in the scare factor. If TKNOGD was good or just removed, this movie would rank a bit higher. The best compliment I can offer to this movie is that it made me want to check out some of the other VHS entries. And if you want me to review them, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. I have another horror video planned for Halloween, and it is a classic. If you want me to review more horror movies, then let me know in the comments below, especially if you have some lesser-known movie recommendations. Until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the tavern.